This channel is for immature audiences only. It is not for children, only for childish adults. We might play some video games that kids also like, but we say words like fuck and shit with alarming frequency and make crude, inappropriate, and morbid jokes all the damn time. Level 0 NPCs assumes no responsibility if your idiot spawn watches this and gets traumatized.
So, every year for Halloween, at least while we were living in Nova Scotia when I was a child, and when we were living in California, my parents have this record that's like, I think it was made by Disney.
Yeah.
And it's all just like ambient Halloween sounds.
Yeah, I know. I have the tape version of that. Yeah.
You have the tape version of that? Yeah, my dad would set that up every year with like this like light board.
Yeah.
To have like crashing lightning and like weird purples and reds and stuff like that coming from the outward facing windows and shit.
Yeah.
That was the bomb. That was Halloween in the 80s and 90s for me right there.
Yeah, no,
I think creaky door sound you made reminded me of that. But the funny thing is like it had tracks basically that were like, creepy laboratory. And
Yeah.
Like graveyard.
Oh yeah, with the bubbling
Yeah. And chains.
Every year there's less and less of that.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
I do remember that era of technology. These days it would just be like an ambient Spotify playlist kind of
That's
thing.
what people do. In fact, I saw a couple people last year taking my kids out. I noticed that there's people who still play music and stuff and ambient weird sounds like that. Does happen, but it gets fewer every year.
I feel like our generation has less energy to do that kind of like high production value Halloween thing for trick-or-treaters at the very least. Like, I'm sure they'll take the stops out, the proverbial stops for a party.
Yeah.
But
no, it's true. And I mean, I live on a cul-de-sac, or not a cul-de-sac. I live on a loop.
Yeah.
It's a close. And it gets wild here on Halloween's. So like hundreds of children. And it's a little madness. So there's always some people that go a little crazy, but yeah, I just don't. I mean, you're gonna get a jack-o'-lantern from me, maybe 4, one for each of us in the family, and that's about it. You'll get some candy.
I strike people as the sort of person who would hate children and fun. so I have that way about me. I've got that sort of a face. I surprisingly don't, but every year I do shut off all of my lights and pretend not to be home for Halloween. That's my tradition. I just sit at home and eat candy in the dark alone. I just try as hard as I can to make my home look like a place where there wouldn't be candy, and then I have all of the candy.
People think I hate children and fun. That's not true, though here is some evidence that I do.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's why people would think that about me. But that isn't the reason I do it.
No.
It's just a different other reason that I can't fully describe.
It's a tradition now. Yeah. You don't know what the fuck you're doing, do you?
I don't, but that's part of the fun.
We'll figure it out.
Is it part of the fun? Hey, It's time for some questions for Gory. Cue the theme.
Done.
Questions for Gory. Hey, everybody. Wow. Damn. Let's see here. Questions for Gory. Holy shit. How does this go? Okay. Sorry. I have to go to the actual... I'm going to our actual YouTube video and finding the actual questions.
I posted a bunch of them into the Slack channel.
You friggin' didn't.
I totally did.
Did you do all of them?
I might not have got all of them, but I definitely got a bunch of them.
Holy
I think I got all of them.
shit. Okay, well, we'll go with yours, and if we missed one,
My fault at that point.
yeah.
It's not that we don't care, and it's not even that we're not professional in our own way. It's just that we're not necessarily professional at this thing we're currently doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're professionals in the jobs that we do.
Yeah.
This is a hobby where I am deep in the red for doing.
I'm not even wearing a shirt right now.
Oh, I'm wearing a shirt, but I am not wearing pants.
I'm wearing pants, but no shirt.
I'm not quite Donald ducking it. There is fabric between me and the chair, but yeah.
Donald Duck.
Rockin' the Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Question.
Same look.
Question for Gory.
Gory.
Yeah, Fun for Algernon says, hey, as CDs became the prominent gaming media format, Sierra leaned hard into FMV. Gabriel Knight 2, the multiple Phantasmagoria games, Police Quest Squat. That's on me. That at no point was there a game called Police Quest Squat, everybody. I'm sorry, don't look for it.
Should have been.
Do you admire the risk-taking? Do you admire their risk-taking, lament their naivete, or both or neither?
I think it was an interesting technology. I mean, like, rotoscoping's been around for a very long time, right? Although most rotoscoping of the sort of previous era was just either like complete cell animation, like the Filmation. He-Man was predominantly rotoscoped. The Rankin Bass and Ralph Bakshi, Hobbit and Lord of the Rings were mostly rotoscoped. And then you had a handful of FMV games. I guess this isn't technically roto because this is actual film on presumably green screen. But I don't know, like, it wasn't the wrong choice. It was definitely interesting, and it kind of created a genre, which at some point, if and when, the cast of Level 0 NPCs gets enough energy to start doing more series again, I would love to do, like, an FMV Fridays or something like that, where we got into, like, FMV games.
Yep. I mean, I think the thing is too that I think, that nobody knew what the future of gaming was.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was very experimental in the early to mid 90s, and I really enjoyed that. Like,
yeah,
the sky was the limit. Everything was on the table, right? Like, early 3D.
And that's the thing.
FMV.
Around this time,
hand-drawn animation. Yeah.
Around this time, you saw what 3D was doing, and I understand why people looked at that and went, "Yeah, no, let's just make the props out of 3D."
Yeah,
and let's make the characters FMV because 3D characters back then looked janky as all fuck.
They looked awful.
They looked awful.
You have a limit on polygons that you could do beyond, like, pre-rendered scenes, which is what this is, right? Like, pre-rendered, you could just spend a long time waiting for the image to render in your little render farm, and as long as it looked fine after it was rendered, you're done, right?
Yeah.
You don't need any real time. Alex could probably tell us a fair bit about, like, real-time rendering, and especially, like, the old limitations there, even the present limitations, for that matter.
Well, what makes the games industry so vibrant is that it pushes a lot of technology forward. And like Matt said, we don't know what the future is going to be. So we wouldn't... There are lots of good games that really push technology. And due to those innovations, lots of future games get to benefit from that technology. But I also find a lot of great games concern themselves less with the future of games and more with the present of games. So an example of that is Wind Waker. If you make a game and you strive to make that game look photorealistic, as good as you can possibly make it, as good as technology will allow, in 10 years people will laugh at it. you instantly set the clock ticking. It has a shelf life. But if you look at games like Team Fortress 2, games like Wind Waker, in not pushing the envelope of graphics, they instead made something that was timeless. So this game didn't really push the envelope in terms of animation necessarily, but we're still playing it and talking about it.
But I think there was...
And it still looks good in its own way.
But here's the thing. Yeah. I'm not sure, and quote me, I don't quote me on this, but I actually do believe there was a time when this was not appreciated. I think there was a window of time where people were looking at FMV games and going, "Oh, gross. No, I don't want to play this."
I mean, I will be honest with you. I was one of the detractors.
What
is this?
The direction that I leaned in this era was the hand-drawn 2D, like just
Absolutely.
the next evolution of current, like of existing sort of pixel art and what have you. Larry 7, Space Quest 6, Curse of Monkey Island.
Yeah.
Those are some of the real trailblazers of that. Hadn't played Torrance Passage until we played it on Level 0 NPCs, but it was among those, right?
But yeah,
it looked really good.
I think there was a time, and I don't think it was a short time when a lot of people were like looking at this game going, "Oh God, why did they do that?"
Dawn.
I mean, we appreciate it now because of reasons. But I actually, I think, and I think everybody who's watching this now appreciates it. But I do remember there was quite an anti-FMV group of people for a long time that were all like, "Nah, fuck this. This is stupid."
Like I said earlier, too, more and more there's pressure and precedent for the sort of live capture of real people in games. Like you just try to capture Keanu Reeves all in one go. His face, his animations. You've got like sensors on his face and body that go directly to the character without the intervention of animators. I'm sure that
it's true.
But I'm sure there was cleanup and stuff like that. But
nobody. I mean, you have some direct experience with like MetaHuman and some of those technologies because we've researched them a little bit.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah,
but nobody wants to see somebody act in a game. Nobody wants to see that anymore.
I do think it's
yes
a little...
and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. They want to see someone act through an avatar. They don't want to see somebody.
They don't want to see film of
people.
Keanu
Don't
Reeves.
want to
They
play
want
a
to see
movie.
Johnny Silverhand in 3D.
Yeah, I do think we'll see a resurgence in games like this because of that push for the technology. Because the only thing you're missing for a complete experience is a story. You're capturing stuff. Now, me, when I play a game, I don't want to have a story told at me. I want to tell my own story. A lot of people feel this way if you're playing Skyrim or one of the other big Bethesda titles. You kind of have a certain amount of disdain for the main plot because you're too busy being a master thief or just like stealing all the bread in the world or whatever it is you do in a Bethesda game.
Collecting every cheese wheel and filling your house with it, yeah.
You decide what the story is and what the world means to you and that sort of thing. And more and more cutscenes are... I had the interesting experience the other day of playing Borderlands 2 and 3 in the same day. And in Borderlands 2, the cutscenes... It was older than I remembered it was, Borderlands 2. I was astonished how old it was. My brother's laptop nearly melted trying to run it. In another couple of years, we'll have to like mount and emulate that shit. But the cutscenes were intrusive and distracting. And, like, unwelcome. Like, every time a cutscene happened in Borderlands 2, I was like, Jesus, who is this for? Is this for me? Like, am I supposed to hate Claptrap? Like, what is... Borderlands 3, it was more, they just kind of let you do your thing and walk away. They'll tell their jokes, but they don't, they don't interrupt what you're trying to do. They don't stop you looting the room in order to tell a story at you. There's still cutscenes, and they're actually, honestly, still pretty intrusive and unwelcome in Borderlands 3, but... It was clear they were sort of figuring it out where that storytelling fits in. They were much more sparing with it.
I mean, also, like, there's so many ways to get a story told at you.
Yeah.
You could just have that. You could just watch, Rings of Power or anything on Netflix.
Yeah.
There are so many ways for that to happen.
Yeah, like, we already have linear media for that, you could say.
Yeah.
Like... certainly when I'm playing a game, I want to decide what the story is for myself. As the player, I will bring my own story. I just need a vehicle for that to happen in.
I mentioned Rings of Power because I wanted to date this particular episode.
Because it is relatively new on Amazon Prime right now.
Yeah. Again, we're not being paid to say that. It's just
we're
what's
not.
happening.
We're not even a little bit being paid to say.
No, we don't have enough.
To plug Rings of Power, brand new series from the I don't know if they're actually from the creators of the Lord of the Rings on Amazon Prime.
Yeah. We're probably in like a tiny amount of trouble for talking about it even. That's how little we're being paid for it. Like
tiny amount of trouble.
Not a lot. Like not that anyone's going to act on it, but we're using trademark terms there.
Whatever.
That's true. Although I think that this counts as free advertising.
Okay. All right.
So to speak.
Ideally, a product like that, you'd probably want people talking about it.
So we're not using any of their trademarks. We are talking about it as a product.
It does suck. Rings of Power quite a lot. Yeah. It's
this is where we move out of that gray zone. Yes, go ahead.
It's well, Matt and I have been watching it.
It has become a transformative work from just that one statement right there.
It's
I just can't believe that they got all those people together and all that money and the licensing for everything, and that's what they fucking made.
Oh, I'd love to, but you have a lot of work to do. How about later?
Okay. How about a little kiss for now?
Oh, they're so in love.
I'll see you
in
later.
front of their tiny fridge. Oh my! Oh, she hated that. She fucking hated that.
Sorry for ranting over the actors there.
No. I'm sorry for having to stop you. No, look. Here's the thing. Rings of Power. I see why people enjoy it. It's just nice to have this level of fantasy on TV. Like, we just didn't have that at any point in history like we do now.
I am kind of enjoying the show. I just think it's pretty bad.
I look forward to it every week, but I'm not. Yeah, I mean, it's got its issues.
Matt and I were talking about this. They don't really know what elves are supposed to look like, and I don't mean because they added a black elf. He's fine. He kind of looks like an elf. It's that a bunch of the elves just kind of look like sitcom dads with pointy ears.
I'm in the camp that you should never cast anyone over 35 to play an elf.
Yeah, or just know what an elf looks like. Like Hugo Weaving.
Weaving.
He looked maturer than the other elves, but he kind of looks like an elf in his normal day-to-day life, and really what the casting people did is notice that about him. But in Rings of Power, it's really like, I gather there was some racist outrage that there were elves of color in Rings of Power. I'm all for it. I think it's great. But it's really most of the white elves that I have a problem with, because like just any boring middle-aged white guy with pointy ears does not an elf make. That's just not how elves are.
Anybody who's played any of like the Shadow of War games on sees Celebrimbor for the first time and goes, really, that's him? He
could be a fucking Christmas elf if he was shorter. He could be a Santa's workshop elf. He's just
This is the guy that's gonna.
He's just slightly too tall to be a Santa elf.
Wow. Okay. You did bring up a good point. He does look like he could be duped into doing it, though.
How's it going?
Yeah, he did look intelligent and gullible.
Sorry if we're spoiling this for you guys. Sorry, spoilers. It's too late. I don't know how it's gonna go down. Anyway, yeah, we got that. So yeah, to answer your question, Fun for Algernon. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we both appreciate their risk taking, and I mean, I don't think actually, you know what? I don't think we do lament their naivete. I think they were trying something out, and I always admire that. I always admire.
This
that.
was experimentation.
Something. Yeah,
and I mean, like honestly, they made a good product with that, and They tested it out. And I mean, like, the beauty of Sierra, especially in the mid-90s, before everything went down, we're definitely doing a lot of experimentation, and I really respect that, right? Because, like, this wasn't the only chicken or the only sort of egg that they had in that basket, right? There were FMV games like this. There were first-person games that were chasing the Myst hype wagon, like Shivers, which was another Sierra horror game. There were games that were doing the hand-drawn animation, like Leisure Suit Larry 7. And there were games that were doing early 3D, like good old King's Quest 8, which I refused to do when we did our first run of King's Quest, but we should get back to eventually.
We will. We'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna send those 7 polygons flying around the map.
And at the same time, like, they were also branching out into, like, they were the ones that published Diablo 2 Hellfire, right? Or, like, they built and created it, right? Or Diablo Hellfire.
Right.
Yes.
No, I agree.
Expansion to Diablo 1.
And I think it's, yeah. So, yeah, I think they made something great.
Yeah, they did. They rolled the dice, but they rolled the dice in a couple of different ways, and they figured out which ones were going well. And if Sierra had not been embroiled in a massive scandal with, really awful fucking companies buying and selling them back and forth, like, they could have been continuing on that sort of bleeding edge of game development technology, like they always were back in the day. Like, this was groundbreaking at the time, just like everything else that they ever did.
Yeah. Also, they turned an idea into a reality.
Which is always really, yeah.
It's the one place in the world where Zeno's paradox is true, because between the idea and the reality are an infinite amount of steps and an infinitely divisible space. And anyone who manages to overcome that inertia and make it, it's an incredible thing.
I'm trying to do my own thing right now, and it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. So I appreciate what they did. And I know I was the one who endlessly bitched about Space Quest 6. And even now, it's not my favorite thing. But I can admit that to get a game like that from nothing to something is huge. It's huge. And that's why we do this every week.
Yeah.
It
is a celebration of Sierra's many experiments, successful and unsuccessful alike.
This is the least horror month horror. This is so fucking wholesome. All right, next fucking question.
Next question for Gory.
Next question for Gory. What's the most bafflingly unnerving thing a Zoltar in your home could say to you, printed on a little strip of paper? So if you had a Zoltar in your home, what's the most bafflingly unnerving thing that it could spit out at you? And this is from Joseph Davies.
That's an amazing one. So what immediately springs to mind are immediate situational prompts, such as look out behind you or duck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Those are good ones if they're actually if they actually work, right? Like, if I got a thing and it was just like duck and I didn't duck but also didn't get hit or injured or something like that, then I would question the value of that.
I think for me, it would be it would spit out a number like 11. And then the next day it would spit out 10. And at that point it would be that would be really unnerving for me. And then 9. The next day.
Yeah.
The countdown is always horrible.
Yeah, you couldn't help but wonder what happens at 0.
Yeah.
A good way to catch a good Luke trap then for the situational prompts like duck would be to have it say duck and then just like fire a Nerf dart.
Yeah.
It spits out the thing, it waits an appropriate amount of time for a person to retrieve the ticket, and as you're contemplating it, it just sticks a Nerf dart to your forehead.
But I mean, like, that would just be a fun gimmick in my
Yeah.
mind. Like, if the thing was just like duck and then it went on to like do it, I wouldn't feel like that was unnerving. I would feel like that was like, okay, well, this is just a stupid joke thing.
Yeah.
What a frustrating invention, you would think, and you'd move on with your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas, yeah, if you get a countdown or, I'm trapped or help me.
Yeah, trying to communicate. If it was trying to communicate with you, like it wanted help from you, that would be troubling. The countdown.
Yeah.
An oddly prescient, immediate situation prompt, that would be terrible.
I just want to draw attention to, but not really comment on, the giant head on the side of my house.
See, they know what elves look like.
Yeah. Like
Elf statue, yes.
This is a troubling house. The giant face on the wall is one of the most troubling elements about it.
And yet we looked at it and went, yeah, that's just part of this house.
Bench.
Luke, do you have an answer for the Zoltar? Or are you too busy wandering around the grounds?
I didn't think about it very much, so I don't have an answer to hand, I'm afraid.
That's fine.
Even though you gave me plenty of opportunity to come up with one.
No, it's fine. You were too busy. You're busy wandering around this place.
Also, Matt and I jumped on all the good answers like grenades.
Idris. Idris has an answer for your question. Idris's line would be drawn, for the level of haunting, would be drawn at the level of the movie House. That's a lot. That's a lot.
I haven't seen the movie House, but I'm assuming it has nothing to do with the medical drama House with Hugh Laurie.
No, do you remember in the 80s, there was always, because I was always a kid, and I remember, I'm pretty sure...
I was always a kid in the 80s.
I was always
That's
a kid
true.
in the 80s. I was never not a kid in the 80s.
Yep.
I
I either didn't exist, was a baby, or was a kid in the 80s, but yes.
I was always a kid in the 80s. And I remember the poster for House, and it was a disembodied hand with like a worm coming out of it. It was like a zombie hand, and it was ringing the doorbell. Nice. And I remember it like so, because it was gory and disturbing, and it was horrible to see when you're a kid, and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta watch that later on. And I remember that poster. Here, I'm gonna send it to you so you can put it up right now.
Please do.
Oh my god, I was right. God, that's beautiful. Look at that. That's
I'm going to assume that I will have a visceral reaction to that when I do see it.
I mean, it's such a cool, like, this movie came out in 1985. Like, it's just, it's great. It's great. It's almost a little too over the top. Like,
nice.
the poster
that has
for
flown
House.
under my radar, though. I'm not familiar with
House. Anytime I went to a video store in the 80s, I remember seeing that on the shelf and going, that's gross.
It is likely, like, I'm not recognizing it from the verbal description thereof, but I did work in a video store. My first job ever was in a video store that had a relatively healthy horror movies section.
Yeah.
So I probably have seen the cover for it and just don't remember it.
Yeah.
That is a hell of a poster.
Isn't it great? Like, it's clearly illustrated. Like, it's very illustrative. Like, it's almost just this side of comic booky. But it's so good. It's so good. Anyway, that's a level of haunting that you don't want. If you haven't seen House, I don't know. It's a horror movie, you know.
I'm afraid I haven't seen it to understand, but like I like the idea of using a horror movie as the reference point for what you wouldn't tolerate in a haunting. That's because it's most horror movies are about a haunting that was intolerable, so it's just kind of useful.
Yeah, yeah.
one of the
So
first.
what is your upper threshold that you would still be okay with?
So
That's the,
Alex, you mentioned that ghosts don't kill people, and I think ghosts kill people all the time.
It's just there's no evidence of it. Like, everyone's got a greasy rectangle in their pocket with like a camera and a microphone and a Twitter account.
Sure.
Like, it's kind of the same thing for like Sasquatch and aliens and stuff like that. It's just not looking great.
It's not looking great.
It's true, yeah. Ever since we, like, you would have thought that by now, with the advent of, like, camera phones and stuff like that, if there was a Bigfoot that could be found, that it would have been found by now.
Like it could be that some common cause of death turns out to be supernatural in origin. Like when someone dies of a heart attack, it's always a ghost or something like that. But you could just say that every bullet is a ghost too, and we just don't realize it.
Every bullet is a ghost.
Yeah, gunpowder, it's made of ghosts. It's the ghosts that kill you. Like, that's definitely a theory, but there's no reason to think it. You know, it doesn't make the universe any simpler or more understandable. It's not...
No. Idris also has a question for Gory. Team Shaniac or Team Bugara?
So that's, for those who haven't watched, that's a reference to Shane Madej and Ryan Bergara, who are, well, among other things, presenters, comedians, entertainers, ghost hunters. Some of my personal favorites, because my pitch for their work is that Ryan believes in ghosts so much, and Shane even less than the normal amount.
I have seen Ghost Hunters, but I did not remember the names, so I'm glad to have that cleared up for me before I have to answer the question.
They were on BuzzFeed Unsolved, right? They
were on BuzzFeed Unsolved. Now they've got their own channel called Watcher, where they have ghost files. Yeah. They're very funny. They're quite the dynamic duo. So the Shaniacs are people who are skeptical, and the Bugaras are people who, on some level, believe in ghosts or the supernatural.
So, like, as far as them as people, I love them both. I think they really need to be together. I also feel like, as far as I'm concerned, like, I'm sort of both of them. I feel a definite kinship for both of them. I sort of believe in ghosts more than Shane, but not as much as Ryan. But I am not nearly as skeptical as Shane either.
Yeah, I wouldn't call you a fence sitter either. I don't think it's a matter of indecision.
No, no. It's I'm there, but I'm also not like there. Yeah, like so, and also like personality wise, I feel like I'm a weird mix of them too. So you know, but like I like them both. I can't choose.
I've been quoted as saying years ago that certainty is heretical to every belief. And I stand by that, more or less. Like, you don't want to trust someone who speaks in a lot of absolute statements. The universe is a big and complicated place. We don't understand all of it. It's definitely possible that the human animal as we understand it extends beyond the bounds that we understand. I personally don't see any reason to believe that a person is anything other than meat. Like...
Yeah. And I
think a person is their body. I think your body is what you are, and your mind is a component of it. And your mind is the only diagnostic tool you have, and it's in the body.
And I think that's I don't buy that all the way. I'm not. I think that's a little too. It's a little too much. It's a little too. It's not. It's a little too not enough for me.
Well, like do mice have ghosts? Do nematodes?
Cavemen did.
Like, there's lots of organisms on the planet.
What about cavemen? Okay, first of all, here's the thing. I think we've all discussed. I think you and I are on the same page as far as ghosts go.
Yeah.
I think you and I are pretty sure that if ghosts are a thing, if they are a thing, and we're not even saying they are, you know what? We're saving that for next week. You guys, if ghosts are real, put it down in the comments. What do you guys think ghosts are?
Something I want to be really clear about is that, like, while I personally am a skeptic, and I am needling Matt a little bit here, just for shits, I'm not the sort of skeptic who likes to poke holes in other people's experiences or feelings. It's not.
You are truly, truly not an asshole.
I would probably draw different conclusions from a person's paranormal experience, but I'm not. Yeah, I don't just.
Yeah.
Call everybody a liar for seeing something that I didn't. Just so you guys know.
Yeah, it's true. I'll back you up on that. I've seen it happen. We would make the two of us would be awesome on a ghost show.
Yeah. I've been meaning to pitch this to Luke. Actually, I'm just going to do it now live. We should do a ghost hunting.
I feel a little left out.
we should. Well, no, it just I keep meaning to bring it up as a non sequitur in the middle of a random episode, and I always forget. We should do a ghost hunting thing.
It's harder with you because you live, so far away.
I live in a 1,000 miles away ish.
Yeah, but we should do a ghost hunting thing for the channel. Be fun.
Well, if you guys went and recorded a ghost hunting thing, I'm sure there's something haunted in Nova Scotia.
Oh God, yes.
Go find.
The whole city exploded not very long ago.
Well, in the grander scheme of things, not very long ago.
Well, yes, I suppose in like the cosmic sense, everything exploded not very long ago. Halifax exploded in the midst of World War I.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know Halifax history, it was at the time the largest non-nuclear man-made explosion, and I think it remains the largest accidental non-nuclear man-made explosion. Straight up ever. It was fucking enormous. Every city has a great story.
Ammo ship in the Halifax harbor. Right?
Yeah.
Every city's got a story where the city burned down, and there's a neighborhood where all the buildings were rebuilt out of brick to stop it happening again. Halifax has a way better story because it fucking exploded into smithereens.
Absolutely. It's a crazy story.
There's a hill facing the water, and everything on that hill was blown the fuck up.
It was a hideous tragedy, but it is one of the most interesting things to have ever happened in Canada.
Yeah. So, there's haunted places here. Absolutely.
Yeah, if there are ghosts anywhere, there's going to be ghosts around here.
Give us your best ghost stories. Give us your best what you think ghosts are. If you've had encounters, let us know. I've had some crazy stuff happen to me.
And stay tuned, maybe, for Level 0 Ghost Hunters.
Oh wow!
I should look into
side YouTube channel.
I should look into what it actually costs to get all the shitty ghost hunting equipment. I bet it's fucking expensive.
A PK meter.
I want to point out in this episode, we didn't do anything.
Well, no, we got the key. That was last episode, I guess, technically.
Yeah, that was the last.
In this recording session.
I'm gonna flat out say, anyone who wasn't interested in what we were talking about this episode is not welcome back next episode. You may go. You are dismissed.
I mean,
I don't think a lot of lines in the sand recently.
I don't think anybody who wasn't interested in what we're talking about is still here.
No. There's no way. There's no way they started. Yeah.
So give us your craziest ghost stories. Give us what you think ghosts are. This is horror month. Let's double down. Let's do some stuff.
Yeah,
and we'll
let's talk about ghosts.
We'll deal with that next week, and maybe we'll look at a hint book. Eh?
Well, I'll probably figure out what we got to do next between episodes, so I'm not bringing a hint book into the show. And I probably should have done it on the way up, but I had a very busy week. So
no, I get it. I understand. I'm not shitting on you for this, for the record. I just noticed that we were doing a lot of wandering around. It was very Quest for Glory 3.
Real quick, I was trying to remember the year of my first date that I ever went on. I now realize that it was 2007, which makes sense because I had just graduated high school and I went to see 1408, which had just come out in theaters at the time. 1408 is the movie that I saw on my very first date that I ever went on. And it is, I have to admit, an intolerable haunt because the premise is a literally inescapable hotel room. And Like, whatever, say, afraid of ghosts or no, if your place is provably and, like, comprehensively inescapable, that's no good. I don't want a house that I literally can't escape from.
Valid point.
Yeah.
We haven't even touched on the horror here in this house yet.
I mean, you know, there was like the graspy bed.
Yeah, but we know
the manacles down in the wine cellar.
Yeah, but we know what's coming.
That handsy bed was no good.
That was no good.
You can't have that.
But yeah, give us some more questions for Gory. Give us your ghost stuff, and it was great, guys. It was awesome. It's good.
Yeah,
It's good to be back.
I'm a skeptic.
This was a chatty episode. I mean, it's usually a chatty episode, but this was weirdly like video gamey, wholesome, and
I was excited to hang out with everybody. We're talking about video games and ghosts. I'm happy as a clam.
It's true. It's true. I'm not going to apologize for it, unless I did. Did I apologize for it? I don't know if I did.
Kind of.
How Canadian of me.
Not directly, but yes.
How Canadian of me, I tell you.
He's not sorry to you. He's sorry for you.
Yeah,
that you don't enjoy talking about video games and ghosts.
I'm not going to apologize that we did it, but if you hated it, you're probably gone. So apologizing would be useless at this point. Anyway, we'll see you next week, guys. Stick and stay. Horror month.
So you can say horror month.
Keep a hammer in your inventory.
Also, on a side note, I did say that Andrew would be back today, and I texted him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, it's a bad night. What about next week?" I'm like, "Okay, we'll see." So I'm not even gonna promise. I'm not even gonna say anything. Andrew might be back next week. He might not be.
Better for it to be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. If some of you were like waiting, just like, God, where is Andrew?
Waiting with
where is he?
Breath for Andrew.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then this is. I'm sorry. It
His
took till
ghost
now.
is with us.
Yeah.
But the rest of him is not.
Yeah, maybe the rest of them will catch up next week. All right, everybody, take it easy. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care, folks.
We'll at least talk at you next week.
Bye.